Way, way back, thousands of years ago, an incredible system of learning was thriving in ancient India. I mean, it was famous all across the known world. It produced some of the most brilliant minds in history, created philosophies that broke new ground, and left behind this amazing legacy that we're still digging into today. So let's dive in and figure out how it all worked.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did a system from the Vedic age, thousands of years old, churn out absolute legends? We're talking about people like Panini, the grammarian, Chanakya, the master strategist, and Jivaka, the brilliant physician. What was their secret?
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't really a secret at all. The reputation of this system was global. For travelers, for scholars from all over Asia and even beyond, India was like a beacon of knowledge. Its fame for philosophy, for art, and especially for its unique way of teaching. It just pulled in the best and brightest from everywhere. They were all searching for wisdom, and they knew where to find it.
Okay, so to really get how this worked, we need to think way beyond just classrooms and textbooks. The ancient Indian approach, it was a whole philosophy for life. It was focused on something much, much bigger than just memorizing facts. The real goal was to shape a complete, well-rounded human being. You see, the whole system was built on these 4 pillars. It was all about holistic development. The point wasn't just to cram your mind full of information. It was to build your character, to strengthen your body, and to nurture your spirit, all at the same time. It was this beautiful, profound balance between your inner self and your outer self. And holding all this up were some really powerful core values. Students weren't just taught subjects, they were taught how to live. Humility when you're learning, being truthful in everything you say, having discipline in your actions, and, this is a big one, having a deep respect for nature and every living thing. These weren't just extra credit, this was the curriculum. And what's just incredible is the sheer range of what they studied. On one hand, you had the Shastras, the hardcore learned disciplines like history, logic, and politics. But on the other hand, you had the Kavyas, the imaginative, creative side of things like literature and poetry. This system really valued analytical, logical thinking and creative expression in equal measure. So, where did all this amazing learning actually happen? Well, it wasn't in what you'd call a typical school. The environment was just as important as the syllabus, and right at the heart of it all was this incredibly unique relationship between the teacher, the guru, and the student. The main center of learning was the gurukul. I want you to just picture this for a second. It's a residential school, often nestled somewhere quiet in a forest, far away from all the distractions of a city. Here, students didn't just show up for class and go home. No, they lived with their guru, becoming a real part of their teacher's extended family. A day in the life really shows you just how holistic this was. It was this perfect blend of activities. You'd spend your mornings learning the core subjects, but then you'd be doing practical daily chores to learn self-reliance. Afternoons were for physical training and yoga, and then evenings were all about sharpening your mind through these intense learned debates.
And how did they know if you were learning? How were you assessed? Well, forget about multiple choice tests. The ultimate exam was something called a shastratha, a learned public debate. You couldn't just memorize facts and spit them back out. You had to truly, deeply understand your topic, defend your position, and articulate it with confidence. It was the ultimate test of critical thinking.
Now, here's something that might surprise you. Who actually got to have this education? Well, during the early Vedic period, women weren't just students, they became some of the most prominent scholars of the age. We're talking about incredible thinkers like Gargi and Maitreyi, who were celebrated for their intellect and contributed hugely to the debates of their time. Okay, so the Gurukul was the foundation, the building block, but the system scaled up from there big time. It created these massive centers for higher learning that were, for all intents and purposes, the world's first great universities, and they were attracting scholars from all over the world. 2 names really stand out as the heavyweights: Takshashila in modern-day Pakistan and Nalanda over in India's Bihar. These places were legendary. Takshashila was a hub for higher learning for centuries, and Nalanda thrived for over 700 years. They drew in the best minds to study literally everything, from medicine and military science to philosophy and astronomy. And if you want proof of just how influential a place like Takshila was, you just have to look at its alumni. These are people who literally changed history. Panini, who wrote one of the most important works on grammar ever. Chanakya, the political mastermind who shaped an entire empire, and Jivaka, one of the most famous physicians of the ancient world. Not a bad graduation class, huh?
Now, let's talk about Nalanda. What was it actually like to be there? According to visiting Chinese scholars, guys like Huanzong, the intellectual energy was just off the charts. How energetic? Well, they reported that there were as many as 100, that's right, 100 different lectures and debates happening there every single day.
I mean, the curriculum at Nalanda was just staggering. It was designed to cover, and I'm quoting here, almost the entire circle of knowledge then available. Just imagine one single place where you could study art, math, politics, medicine, you name it. It was a true university in every sense of the word. So we've seen the philosophy, we've seen the day-to-day practice, and we've seen these incredible institutions. But what does any of this have to teach us today? Well, its legacy holds some really powerful and honestly pretty surprising lessons about what education can and maybe should be.
Let's just start with this one simple, powerful fact. Knowledge was considered sacred, and because of that, no student was ever charged a fee. Education was a right, not something you had to buy. So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? Simple. The community funded it. Giving to education was seen as the highest, most noble form of donation. Support came pouring in from rich merchants, from wealthy families, and just from society in general. Everyone saw it as their collective duty to raise up the next generation of thinkers. And finally, let's think about the role of the teacher. The guru had complete and total freedom. They chose their own students, they designed the entire curriculum based on what each student needed. And the course wasn't over until the teacher was satisfied that the student had truly mastered the material. This was personalized, expert-led education, pure and simple. All of which leaves us with one final big question. In our world of standardized tests, jam-packed classrooms, and rigid curricula, what can we learn from a system that put holistic growth first? A system that valued public debate over exams and treasured that sacred bond between a teacher and a student? What lessons from the gurukul can we and should we bring into the 21st century?